This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch on this Monday. It is August 25th, 2025. I'm Ephraim Graham. We're going to begin this half hour in the Middle East. Israel is vowing to repay every Houthi attack after it struck the capital of Yemen on Sunday. Meanwhile, Israel is gearing up for its major offensive in Gaza, hoping to free the hostages and finish Hamas. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more on our top story, reporting from Jerusalem.
Israeli Defense Forces struck Houthi military targets on Sunday in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a. The sites included a military compound where the presidential palace is located, 2 power plants, and a fuel depot. Yemeni sources say 6 people were killed.
Whoever attacks us, we attack them. Whoever plans to attack us, we attack them. I think the entire region is learning Israel's might and determination.
The strike came in response to a Houthi-launched ballistic missile on Friday that had a cluster bomb warhead, which carries multiple smaller bomblets that scatter over a wider area, making it harder to defend against and more dangerous to civilians.
We continue to impose an air and naval blockade and are striking infrastructure targets that are used to promote Houthi terrorism. For every missile they launch at Israel, the Houthi will pay with interest.
Earlier, Katz said that the gates of hell will soon open over Hamas murderers and rapists in Gaza until they agree to Israel's conditions for ending the war, primarily the release of all hostages and their disarmament. Hostage families and others are pushing the government to make a deal and get their loved ones back soon. But over the weekend, the IDF began bombing the eastern and northern outskirts of Gaza City as the IDF increased its presence in northern Gaza. Tens of thousands of IDF reservists are called up to report for duty on September 2nd. Hamas continues to claim there is starvation in Gaza, despite the fact that tons of food is being distributed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and other international organizations. Israeli officials say the international media continues to promote a Hamas propaganda campaign. Recently, Britain's Daily Mirror ran a front-page headline to, quote, "Stop starving Gaza's kids," with a picture of 3-year-old Karim Muammer saying he was in hospital with severe malnutrition. The IDF produced medical records saying the child suffers from Fanconi-Bickel syndrome, which causes delayed growth and metabolic issues. David Badine of the Center for Near East Policy Research says there is malnutrition and suffering in Gaza, but it's not caused by Israel.
This is an Arab tactic, a tactic used by UNRWA, Hamas, and the Palestinian Authority. We've seen one tactic used very successfully, that is self-infliction of wounds. Showing themselves to be suffering, but they are suffering, trying to create situations of malnutrition, of poor medical attention.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now. So, Chris, what is Israel's response to Katz's speech on defending Israel against the Houthi in Yemen?
Ephraim, I would say most Israelis agree with what Israel Katz is saying. You know, in the last couple of years, first it was Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran that have fired hundreds of missiles at Israel. Now Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran have all three have been severely damaged by Israel. And now the Houthis seem to be the last remaining one that is firing ballistic missiles. There was just one last Friday. Air raid sirens would sound over either central or southern Israel. I think Israelis are very frustrated and tired, and they want this to stop. And then Yemen, by using a cluster munition in their missile, really raises the stakes. So I think a lot of Israelis agree with Israel Katz, and they want the Houthis to be able to stop. I think this attack by Israel at the presidential palace represents an escalation by Israel and its determination to make sure that the Houthis stop firing these ballistic missiles.
Chris, what is the latest with Operation Gideon's Chariot, which is looking to take over Gaza City?
Well, as Julie said in her report, on the north and the east, they're beginning to slowly, hit Hezbollah infrastructure and targets. They want to go slowly and methodically in order not to put any more IDF soldiers at unnecessary risk, knowing that the Hamas is preparing for them, preparing ambushes. They're not only fighting probably the hardest type of warfare, urban warfare, but it's complicated by the fact that Hamas has built such a terrorist infrastructure underneath the ground, these hundreds of miles of tunnels that go under Gaza City, as well as most of the Gaza Strip. So they're going methodically. And as Julie said, September is going to mark when about 60,000 reservists are going to be called up. And that's going to represent probably the beginning of a major campaign, unless there is some sort of negotiated deal to release all of the hostages.
Over the weekend, some news media outlets reported there was still starvation despite the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I know you were recently at the location of the foundation. What did you witness?
We were there to witness firsthand last Thursday, Ephraim. We were inside Gaza, and we were able to see what the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is doing on the ground. We saw just one of their 4 distribution sites. It's like a couple of football fields just flattened out, where they have hundreds of pallets for the people of Gaza. They come in, typically the men come in first. They take a lot of the food, but then there's a distribution with more aid for the women, and they come and get things like potatoes and onions and some of these boxes that can feed a family of 5 for about 3 days. So despite these reports of starvation, they're widely exaggerated, because the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is just one organization. There's airdrops, and the IDF is putting in literally hundreds of trucks every day. The problem is, and David Bedin alluded to it, Hamas steals most of it, loots it, resells it to the people of Gaza. So Israel is really trying to protest against these lies in many of the publications, and by Hamas as well.
What is Israel doing on the northern border with Syria?
Well, this is an underreported story as well, Ephraim. They have a field hospital up there treating many of the Christians and Druze inside Syria. Underreported, unheralded, but they're doing what they can to help the people of Syria against some of these jihadists that have really committed a massacre in the last couple of months. Another good news story, I think, of the IDF right now here in Syria, as well as what they're doing in Gaza.
All right, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights. Already shaping up to be a busy week. Looking forward to checking back in with you in the days ahead. Here at home, President Trump is vowing to expand his National Guard deployment beyond Washington, D.C. and into other American cities as a crime-fighting initiative. President Trump says he's considering deploying the National Guard to Chicago, New York, and Baltimore next. Democrats are calling it unconstitutional. Aldel Hurd is on this story.
The Pentagon has reportedly been planning a National Guard deployment in Chicago for weeks, as President Trump seeks to take his crackdown on crime, homelessness, and illegal immigration to more cities. Several thousand National Guard troops could be mobilized by September, according to the Washington Post.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker pushed back against the president's claims about crime, accusing him of trying to divert attention away from the economic impact of tariffs, saying there is no emergency that warrants the President of the United States federalizing the Illinois National Guard. Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel says he does not believe it's about crime.
My guess is when you look at what he did in D.C., he's not going to actually deal with crime. This is an attempt to get the goods through customs. This is an attempt to deal with cities that are welcoming cities, known as sanctuary cities, and deal with immigration.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Trump has no authority to deploy troops to Chicago without being asked by the governor.
Well, there's been no request from the state of Illinois, no request at all for federal assistance.
It's unconstitutional. It's a direct violation of the 10th Amendment.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore accuses the president of being hypocritical for blaming mayors for high crime.
If you look at the president's budget, it actually cuts funding towards violent intervention groups. It cuts funding towards the bureaus of the FBI and the ATF that are supporting local jurisdictions like Baltimore.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump suggested he could withhold funds to repair Baltimore's damaged Francis Scott Key Bridge, writing, "I gave Wes Moore a lot of money to fix his demolished bridge. I will now have to rethink that decision." While the Constitution forbids the president to perform law enforcement duties, the president can get around it by invoking the Insurrection Act, which allows him to deploy active duty troops over a governor's objections to enforce the law. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
In other news, parts of Oregon and California are dealing with massive wildfires. Now, thousands of homes are under evacuation orders and warnings. In Northern California, helicopters and firefighters worked on Sunday to try to contain the blaze. Firefighters say 10 square miles are charred and it is 11% contained. 500 people were either ordered or warned to evacuate. Meanwhile, in Central Oregon, firefighters say 29 square miles of fire had no containment, with the wildfire threatening nearly 4,000 homes. Still ahead, the call of the wild. The missionaries are heading straight to the places filled with war, terrorism, and bloodshed. You're going to see how they are seeing God move in the most dangerous places on earth. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. An American woman is quietly building an army in one of the most dangerous places on earth. Carol Ward has created a missionary school to train people in the area to spread the gospel. George Thomas reports now from the southern edge of the Sahara Desert.
The Sahel region of Africa isn't the kind of place you just wander into. You're called here.
It's very dry, it's very sandy, it's dusty, it's desert. It can be 100, 115 degrees year-round.
This vast stretch of land cuts across 10 African nations, from Senegal to Eritrea. It's a land of extremes, scorching heat, shifting sand, and deadly danger. More than half of the world's terror-related deaths happen here. It's the front line in a spiritual and physical battle. And now here you are in the middle of one of the most dangerous swaths of land in Africa. What is wrong with you?
The call of the wild. I don't know. I think it's in the blood.
Carol Ward runs toward the fire. She's been doing it for decades, starting in northern Uganda during the height of the Lord's Resistance Army. Then came South Sudan, civil war, destroyed villages, broken hearts. While others fled, Carol stayed, bringing healing, hope, and the relentless love of Jesus.
You can't live here until you've already died. And then...
What do you mean by that?
You've died to yourself, and the devil can't kill a dead man, because your life isn't your own.
This kind of courage runs deep.
So this map was my father's map on the wall of his of our missionary house, actually in the Philippines. And he would lay his hands, particularly on Muslim areas, just weeping and weeping.
Her parents spent 62 years preaching the gospel in regions terrorized by Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines. Her grandparents served as missionaries in China for 30 years. Following Jesus wasn't just a decision, it was their legacy.
I realized then fear is contagious, but so is faith. And so I grew up in a home that even though Abu Sayyaf was looking for my own father's head for 45 years, he had no fear. He absolutely loved the people that burned the Bibles and threw them back in his face. And he was willing to lay his life down.
Today, Carol's mission continues here in Chad, a country shadowed by the presence of Boko Haram, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda.
My heart is to move farther and farther north into more Islamic darkness with the gospel, because if we're not advancing as rapidly as they are, we've lost.
She's launched a nationwide prayer movement raising up local believers, Chadians who know the land, language, and cost of following and sharing Christ.
We've had some Boko Haram come to Jesus in our missionary training school. We've done 5 of them in Chad now, and are launching missionaries. We have over 150 launched in Chad, and these are Chadian missionaries.
Some of those missionaries have gone east into the flood of Sudanese refugees escaping war.
Many believers, baptized 202 of them, the first missionary training school they had.
These aren't outsiders, they're locals, trained, equipped, and ready to go where few others will.
ready to go.
People like Digba Katsala, a street evangelist. He doesn't just preach, he rides straight into the chaos.
Sometimes people are not very receptive. At times it gets a little confrontational, but afterwards when people see that you persist with the word of God, then they get used to you, and when you preach at the end, there are people that start giving their lives to Christ, and that's extraordinary.
For the past 5 years, Pastor Digba has been using his motorcycle to ride the streets of Chad's capital city, N'Djamena, and at different locations he would set up his audio system and get his microphone out, and he would open his Bible in either French or Arabic, and he would boldly proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. Chad is more than 50% Muslim, but that doesn't stop Digba from openly talking about Jesus, his voice echoing through market squares and busy roads. People stop, they listen, and many respond. Then there's Abdullahi Mahyangar, another missionary who once followed Islam.
I was a fervent Muslim. I prayed 5 times a day. I fasted during Ramadan, and I did not like Christians at all.
His father trained with Islamic extremists in the Sahel to target Christians. Now Abdullahi walks into the same regions, not with hate, but with hope. While the world sees terror here, he sees something else.
There is hope because many Muslims in these countries are open today to listening to the gospel. God is really working in the Sahel. They are coming to Jesus in large numbers, and their lives are being transformed.
Carol calls Abdullahi, Digba, and countless other Chadian believers the tip of the spear. Through prayer, sacrifice, and the reckless love of God, they are reshaping the spiritual map of one of the most dangerous places here on the continent.
Prayer transforms us to be willing to lay our lives down and fulfill the Great Commission, no matter the cost. Prayer gives us the burden. We actually get maps out, and we map where are the unreached people groups, where's terrorism, where are wars and bloodshed. Let's go.
George Thomas, CBN News, N'Djamena, Chad.
Welcome back to CBN Newswatch. The Health and Human Services Secretary wants all Americans wearing wearable health devices. It's part of his effort to make America healthy again. CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson shows us there could be potential drawbacks.
Wearables are electronic devices that use sensors to collect real-time health data that can be transmitted to specific platforms so that you can analyze the information or share with your doctor. Studies show these wearables can help diagnose conditions while helping motivate people to adopt healthier lifestyles. That's why HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is promoting their use.
My vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
They're already seen on wrists in the form of fitness trackers and smartwatches. People use them to measure movement, heart rate, help detect sleep apnea, and glucose monitors that measure blood sugar.
I've personally had friends who've utterly changed their lives just from wearing a glucose meter. And they've lost weight, they've lost their diabetes, diagnoses, and you see this happen again and again.
Doctors often recommend wearables such as ECGs that monitor cardiac activity.
There have been people whose lives have been saved because their wearable devices were able to detect over the course of 24 hours an abnormal heart rhythm. That then brought them to their healthcare provider, who took a deeper look and found out that, yes, there is an anomaly, a problem going on right now with the heart.
Tech companies continue to expand options, such as this one designed to prevent sudden infant death syndrome, or this necklace to help improve posture.
We're about to launch one of the biggest advertising campaigns in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables. It's a way of people can take control over their own health.
Yet, alongside the praise, privacy concerns exist.
The citizens that are wearing these health devices don't necessarily know what information is being shared and whom it's being shared with.
For example, health companies could potentially sell data of certain patients, leading insurance companies to potentially raise their rates. That's why customers should be careful.
I think transparency from the company that is managing that data is a critical point for the patient to feel comfortable and understand what is actually happening with it.
Another issue involves accessibility. Kennedy says his agency is working on ways to make glucose monitors more available.
It's $80 a month, and we're exploring ways of making sure that that those costs can be paid for.
So while studies show wearables can improve health metrics and even save lives, issues such as data sharing and affordability persist. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Your Monday Motivation is coming up next. Time now for your Monday Motivation. Today, I leave you with this thought as we begin another week together. Commit to this. Walk in purpose, not in performance. Invite God into all things and in all ways. He wants it all. He will give it purpose beyond performance. With that word, make this a marvelous Monday and be sure to have yourself a wonderful week. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online. That address is cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Again, make it a marvelous Monday. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, God bless, and thank you so much for watching.